If you are anything like me, selling physical handmade goods, you might have quite rightly asked yourself over the last years or so whether or not Etsy is worth selling on. And I've asked myself that same question many a time, to the point that very recently I started my own website and I have been focusing most of my energy onto that. Then last week, or was it the week before? Then recently, I decided to make a video about Etsy, covering various reasons why sales may be slow or non-existent for many people right now. And I received a message from someone, the way they said it was a bit snarky, if I'll be honest. But snarkiness aside, the question was pretty valid, and that was, well, why do you sell on Etsy then? It's a good question, and that's why I thought I would make a video out of it this week, because it needs to be addressed. Anyone who's followed me for any length of time will know that me and Etsy we have a complicated relationship, and yet I'm still there. So why? Why is it that I can be all sort of major snark and side eyes when it comes to them, but at the same time I'm still there? Let's get into that, shall we? Well, I've kind of alluded to it already in this introduction, and that is, it's a tool. It's a tool that I use to make sales. It's not my main tool anymore. It used to be. In fact, at one point, Etsy was my business solely. I don't recommend that. Right now, all of my energy goes to my website, and Etsy is a nice tool to have in my tool belt. It doesn't get all of my energy, my attention, nothing. But I keep it because it's still a way that I can make sales. And if I can make any extra sales using something like Etsy, as well as my website, why wouldn't I? The second reason, which is one of the reasons why I've chosen to keep it as a tool, is that I love the fact that you only start paying fees once you've sold something. Yes, I know that there is a 20 cents listing fee, but for someone like me, as I say, physical handmade products, which are quite slow to make, I haven't got any to hand. It's hand embroidery, by the way. I don't have a huge amount of items. So it's 20 cents per listing. It's nothing. I probably spend more than that on chocolate each week, so it's not a big deal. Plus, each listing lasts for 4 months before you have to renew it. So until I actually sell something, it's so low investment that I almost don't even notice it. And then I sell something and I do notice it, but so that's the second thing. The third thing is that for certain items and certain niches, Etsy is still a pretty competitive place to be on. And when I say competitive, I don't mean as in other competition. I mean, it's a good place to get sales for certain items. Not all items, as I've found out. For example, within my own niche, hand embroidery, I've found that the finished items, the more sort of art-worthy items, it's not as great for those items as it once was, hence my website. However, for supplies of what I do, it's actually pretty good. But my point is that if you have the right niche and the right item, it's still a really good place to sell on. But as I say, with certain other items, it's crickets. So it really does depend on what you sell. And so this brings me nicely to the next reason that I sell on Etsy. As far as all of the platforms that are available goes, and I'm thinking about things like eBay and Amazon, etc., Etsy is still the best fit for me and what I do. Now, this might not be the case for you watching. You'll have to ask yourself the same question, bearing in mind what you do. Handmade items, although Etsy is not a handmade platform anymore, I'm not going to get into that. If you've been watching for any length of time, you'll know my opinions on that. But although we all know it, because Etsy is still riding that handmade reputation, even though it's attracting a very different kind of customer these days, I just think as far as marketplace platforms go, Etsy is the best fit for my business and for what I do. So there's another reason why I'm selling on Etsy. There is one last one, and I haven't spoken about this before, and I'm not going to lie, I'm a little bit embarrassed to say this. Despite everything, and as much as I really hate the platform sometimes, I still feel emotionally connected to it. It is the platform that I built my business on. It's the platform that I used to build this business when my daughter was young, so that I could build something that would enable me to be at home when I needed to be at home with her at the drop of a hat. But ironically, as I sit here filming this video, my daughter is off school because she's unwell, and I didn't have to stop working or take the day off because I am self-employed and I have built this business so that I could do just that. And Etsy was where it all started. As annoying as it gets, I can't shake it. So that is why I sell on Etsy. Bearing in mind the reason why I am still on there is because at the end of the day, I am looking at a few metrics. It comes down to the amount of sales that I'm making, the amount of revenue I'm making, and the amount of profit I'm making. Those are the three metrics that I focus on anywhere, on my website, on Etsy, on here on YouTube, anything. I am looking at how much money I am making and comparing that with the time that I put in. And I am weighing up whether or not the thing that is bringing in the money, if it's worth the time that I'm putting in. I just use Etsy as a tool. I don't have to pay any fees unless I make a sale. It's still a pretty good platform for certain products, certain kinds of products. Kind of has a handmade reputation. It has the remnants of a handmade reputation. It has an aftertaste. You know what I mean. And I weirdly feel emotionally connected to it even now. There you go. That's why I'm still on Etsy.